Hello and welcome to Faith Matters. This is the show where we take a spiritual perspective on Liverpool and Merseyside life. And our guests in the studio today are Zia Chowdhury and Adam Kelwick from Liverpool's Islamic Muslim community. It's great to have you with us today, especially in Ramadan, for you to come in. And I've just introduced you, but just tell our viewers a little bit about yourselves and your role in the Muslim community.
I don't have any formal role. I'm a Muslim in Liverpool, and I've lived in Liverpool for about 40 odd years. And my day job is that I'm a barrister. So that's my profession, that's what I do to pay the bills.
Practicing in Liverpool?
Practicing predominantly in Liverpool. But over the years, in my spare time, I've done a lot of advocacy for Muslims, in the sense that there's been times when people have wanted a Muslim spokesperson or an opinion from a Muslim, and I've been called upon to do that. So that's what I've done in my spare time, and that's led to a lot of interfaith work as well. So I was the chair of the Merseyside Council of Faiths for some time, and so that's brought me into contact with other communities.
And you've just received an MBE for that work. I had to mention that.
Well, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And that was in fact for services to interfaith relations. So it's nice to know that that kind of work also gets recognised.
That's great. And, whilst I'm, bigging you up, just promote your book as well, Just an Average Muslim, which I've read, which I'd recommend. And is it selling well?
Seems to be doing all right. It's had a new lease of life recently. It's been republished and it's had some national media as well. So things are going in the right direction. And again, it's really consistent with the interfaith work that I've been doing over the last few years.
Okay, thanks, Zia. Adam, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an adopted Scouser, originally from South Yorkshire. I'm also somebody who converted to Islam. So I wasn't brought up as a Muslim.
So converted from another faith tradition or just from...
That's right, yeah. I was brought up as a Christian, and I later took the decision to become Muslim. And in fact, much of my upbringing from within the Muslim community has been here in Liverpool. So the vast majority of my life as a Muslim has been here in Liverpool. And you'll find me on most Fridays at the Al-Rahma Mosque, which is the largest mosque in Liverpool on Mulgrave Street.
Toxteth.
That's right. And there I'll be giving the Friday sermon in English. And often when I'm not there, I'll be giving the sermon in the Abdullah Quilliam Mosque, which is a very interesting place, founded in Victorian times, the first mosque in the country. And the founder was a convert to Islam also. So there are lots of things going on there.
And was he the first Muslim?
He was the highest ranking Muslim we've ever seen in this country. As for the first Muslim, then we've got lots and lots of, we've got records which talk about people converting to Islam on the British Isles as far back as the 1500s.
Really?
So there's lots of history there, yeah.
Okay, and what, you do some chaplaincy work as well?
That's right, yeah. I'm a Muslim chaplaincy also, so I'm involved with the hospitals, and I'm involved in community chaplaincy and a few other things here and there.
Okay, that's great. Now, I've got a challenge for you guys today, and you have been prepped, so you know what's coming. Define Islam and the Islamic faith in a few short sentences. Zia.
Islam itself, the word means submission to God. And a Muslim is one who submits to God. It's really as simple as that. And Muslims believe that all of nature, for example, all the animals in the world, they all submit to God. They're all Muslim in that sense because they submit to God. They don't do their own thing. The difference with human beings is that we've got free choice, we've got free will. And so to guide us, God, in his infinite wisdom, has always sent messengers to keep us on the right path. But human beings, being human beings, we veer from the right path. So God would send another messenger to bring us back into line. And that line of messengers came to a conclusion with the Prophet Muhammad and the revelation of the Quran, the holy book of Muslims. Because this time we believe that God said, it's the message that I will keep intact. I will safeguard it. So I don't need to send any more messengers. And so we believe that Muhammad was the final messenger of God. And then with him, you have the Islam that we know now. That's almost the birth of Islam as we know it, as a separate religion now, even though, of course, we would say that all the messengers of God previously were still giving the same message, submit yourself to God. But now this religion that we know today came into being in about the 7th century. And nowadays it's based on 5 pillars of Islam. That's what people recognize. The declaration that there's no God but God and Muhammad is the messenger of God. And then prayer, fasting, charity and the pilgrimage to Mecca.
Okay, I mean, that's a pretty good summary. I don't know if you can add anything to that, but there are 2 streams, aren't there, in Islam? 2 major streams, the Sunni stream and the Shia stream. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Or?
Yes, the majority of Muslims are considered to be Sunni Muslims, and the minority, about 10% globally, are Shia Muslims. But even Sunnis and Shias, you will find that they unite upon the 5 pillars, which Zia just mentioned. So this concept of believing in God alone, without partner, accepting the Prophet Muhammad as the messenger of God after all the other messengers who came before him, and then encouragement to pray, encouragement to fast the month of Ramadan, as we're doing, giving charity, and the pilgrimage to Mecca for those who are able to. So if you were to summarize things up, you could say it was submission. And the purpose of this submission is to establish a balance, to find a balance.
In life?
In life and in your relationships. It's all about perfecting your character and perfecting your relationships. And so the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he told us that I was not sent except to perfect good character. And the idea is, through striving to become a better person and adhering to the rules of Islam and the guidelines which Islam gives us, then we can become better people and perfect our character, which is in reality perfecting our relationships. The relationship we have first and foremost with our Lord, God, the relationship we have with ourselves, and then the relationships that we have with everything else in creation.
I mean, that sounds quite similar to Jesus's, law of love, which is, love God with all your heart, mind, soul and strength, and love your neighbour as yourself. There seems to be, we're going to come to that in the second half, talk a bit more about Jesus or Isa as he is to you. And your mosque, the Al Rakma Mosque, do you have different streams of Muslim attend? Or
the amazing thing about Liverpool is that we're not very sectarian, the Muslim community at least. We're not very sectarian. In fact, quite unique when you look at the rest of the country. The rest of the country, they have 1,000 mosques in a small town, and then each week they'll be fighting amongst themselves to prove who's best. In Liverpool, from the blessings of Liverpool and from maybe the mercy which has traditionally been an air of tolerance in this city, is that you can go to Al Rahma Mosque, you'll find people there who are Shi'i, who are Sunni, and all the other Islamic flavours you can ever wish to imagine. You'll find them there all together. And also ethnicities. You'll find people from all different parts of the world, all different continents of the world, speaking lots of different languages, having lots of different outlooks on life. And for that reason, you can go into the mosque and you can take some benefit from the richness of the attendees in the mosque there, because each person brings their own wisdom and their own culture, and there are lots of beautiful lessons we can take from each other.
That's great. So we touched on Ramadan already. We're in the season of Ramadan. That's the reason that I'm the only person here with a glass of water in front of me. It's not that I'm being rude to my guests. But Zia, tell us about Ramadan. We're in. What is it? What's it about?
It's a month of fasting in daylight hours. So each day, from sunrise to sunset, in fact, it's from dawn till sunset, we fast, which means no food and no drink. Now, that's the physical manifestation of the fast. And in the Quran, it says quite clearly, it's so that you may learn self-restraint. So this is an exercise for us to learn self-restraint, because at the end of the day, we are creatures who can develop habits. And a lot of those habits can be negative. And so we're taught and encouraged to take control of our lives, because the idea being that if you can take control of your physical side, then you can take control of your spiritual, your personality. You can develop that. You can restrain your appetites in other fields. And so, for example, you restrain your physical appetite by not eating and not drinking, but if you restrain that appetite and yet spend the month of fasting lying, cheating, backbiting, swearing, well, you're going to gain no benefit from the month, because you haven't performed the spiritual aspect of the fast. And so the physical is to enable us to conquer the spiritual and develop our characters and our personalities.
And you end it, Adam, with a big feast, don't you?
That's right.
What's that called?
The Eid.
Yeah.
And Eid is all about a day of celebration. In fact, according to Islamic law, it's forbidden to fast on the day of Eid, because you've got to enjoy that day. You've got to have something to eat, you've got to have something to drink, and you've got to enjoy it with your family. And we have lots of different traditions and narrations. So, for example, if we're to look back, over 1400 years ago into the mosque of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, while he was there with his companions, there were people from Africa who were dancing and, performing their cultural traditions in the mosque of the Prophet, and everybody was enjoying themselves. We have narrations of girls singing songs and playing instruments, which might have been looked down upon on a lot of people. But the point is, the day of Eid is a day to celebrate the whole month in which you've gone through, which for many people is an amazing opportunity to review their lives. 1 month every year, a 12th of your lifetime, you will spend refraining and stopping yourselves from eating and drinking food which is halal, which is allowed. And the whole purpose is for you to come out of the month of Ramadan and now be trained and in a position where you can say no to the things which are forbidden. And so it's a very, very spiritual exercise.
Thanks for that. Okay, we're in a few moments, we're going to go to our commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be talking a bit about interfaith relations and how we kind of get along better together, perhaps. Well, of course, we're getting on very well here. We're modelling something for everybody else. So we'll see you after our break. Thank you. Well, welcome back to Faith Matters. Our guests today are Adam Kelwick from Al Rahma Mosque and Zia Chowdhury, both from Liverpool's Muslim community. Zia, as a Christian, I'm interested in how, as Muslims, you view Jesus, who is obviously the leader of my faith. I know that he's known to Muslims by the Arabic name Isa. Have I got to pronounce that right?
Yes, that's
okay.
Correct.
Doing quite well so far. So, who is Jesus for you? First, to Zia.
Many people might be surprised to hear that you can't be a Muslim without believing in Jesus. He is regarded as one of the messengers of God, and we believe in all the messengers sent by God. Of course, there is a stark difference because we don't believe that he was the Son of God.
Right. Okay.
That's where we draw the line. But that shouldn't be interpreted as meaning or denoting any disrespect towards Jesus, because you have to believe in him and respect him as a messenger of God, to the extent that we even respect his mother, Mary. There's a verse in the Quran that refers to Mary, how she was chosen above the women of all nations. Now, if you think about the impact of that verse that was being revealed to Arabs, telling them that this Jewish woman was chosen above the women of all nations, it's astounding when you bear that in mind. And of course, it's that in part has led to the role of Jesus as one of the most significant of God's messengers.
It's interesting because I was reading the Old Testament book of Ezra this week, which I don't know if you're familiar with. And in that, the Persian king, Cyrus, helps the Hebrew people to rebuild the temple. And of course, Persia is modern day Iran. And I was personally encouraged by reading that this week and reflecting. When we first met, which I think was about 5 years ago, you recommended, Adam, this book to me, which is called A Deadly Misunderstanding, which is a book by an American congressman, Mark D. Silgender, and his quest to bridge the Muslim divide. And it was a book that really, thanks for recommending it to me, and I know I've said this to you on more than one occasion. It was a book that really impacted me and helped me in understanding this whole area. In light of recent events and things that people will see on TV, regularly on a daily basis, where we're kind of swamped with this stuff. What can we do together, really? Because it's all about being in partnership together across faith communities and beyond to non-faith communities. What can we do to deepen our understanding of Islam and our understanding of each other working together? What do you think?
I think a good start would be to take the tabloid newspapers, especially The Sun, which thank God doesn't get much readership here in Merseyside in the first place. and throw them away. And then realize that what we're talking about, when we talk about each other and the other, is that we're all human beings. So let's get together, let's start to meet each other. And you might be surprised when you do meet people in the Muslim community, even though you might think that you know about them, you might be surprised to find out that they have children. And they want their children to do well at school.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have problems with their investments, and they have problems looking for jobs, and they have family issues, and they love the good things in life. They love to go on holiday. They like good food, and before you know it, you start to realize that we're all human. We're all human, first and foremost.
And they support football teams.
They support football teams as well.
I know the team that Zia supports, which is
I don't want to get into that. And just the fact that I'm wearing a blue hat doesn't necessarily mean anything either. But the point is coming together. We're told in the Quran that God has made us into lots of different tribes and nations. He's made us diverse. The way that we are, we're diverse in terms of our ethnic backgrounds, in terms of our religions, and all the other cultural attachments which we bring to the table. And the reason we're told that we're made so diverse is so that we can come together, so we can meet each other and benefit from each other, not so we can all stand in our corner and attack, sometimes physically, go to war with each other, rather than so we can come together and learn about each other. And this is especially important when we're talking about the attitudes we have to people of different faiths, because as a Muslim, I'm told in the Quran by God, I'm told to say, O people of the book, now this is specifically referring to Jews and Christians, come to a common word between us and you. And so we could say that interfaith dialogue is encouraged in our Quran. And even though we might have different beliefs, that's not an excuse for anybody to show disrespect or to harm another person from another faith. And I think many people, unfortunately, were they just to read a little more, or even besides reading, meet with human beings who are different to them, I think this is where lots of benefit can be brought. And in my experience through interfaith initiatives, what I've found in the past is when you bring people from different faiths together and you have the different faith representatives talking about whatever they want to talk about, there is benefit in that, but I've seen the majority of the benefit comes at the end when everybody goes to eat and sits down at the table and starts to chat with each other. And I think it's this human interaction which...
Well, I've been on one of those, the walk of witness around Toxteth, and which has ended up at the mosque. And I have to say the food was absolutely fantastic. So I'm looking forward to going on another one of those. So just tell us some of the things perhaps that you're involved in locally that towards this end. Zia, what are you doing at the moment in this whole area?
My work tends to be to go and speak. I've never turned an invitation down, so whether it's a church group or any other sort of group, no matter what the size might be, I'll go along and address an audience on the subject of Islam. And often it's been on the radio as well, trying to correct misconceptions. So that's the kind of focus of my work. Whereas others, for example, it may be that Adam can be better placed to answer this. Others have a more grassroots involvement and actually are involved in projects that bring people together.
Projects that you're involved in at the moment?
In a few days' time, for example, I'll be going up to Preston, and what we have there is an iftar, which is the event in which people break their fast at the end of the day of fasting, and we're inviting people from all different faiths to attend that, and it's actually taking place in a Christian building. So you can see how many different layers of learning and understanding and getting to know each other will come about from an event like that. But we did have meetings for better understanding, where people from different faiths would come along.
Yeah, I know some people who've been on those are supposed to be very, very good.
There's so much benefit. You realise that, Muslims aren't just monsters who are out to take over the country and take over the world and abuse my daughters and steal my income and take my wealth. You start to realise that people are just human beings. And one fortunate thing we have is that people in Merseyside, in Liverpool, traditionally, they've been very open-minded people. That you can't pull the wool over their eyes. And I think for that reason, the Muslim community in Liverpool is very fortunate, because we don't suffer and we don't face many of the challenges which other people across the country do face. And I think that has a lot to do with Liverpool. Historically, the docks have been here, and you've always had people coming in and going out. And I think for that reason, it's harder to convince or to push some of this negativity and this ignorance, which unfortunately does seem to be quite prevalent in our times.
Okay, and I think it's true to say that I think I'm right in saying that we haven't really seen the extremism, the problems with extremism in Liverpool as we have in other cities.
There you go.
We have something to do with that, really.
This is another prime example. I know only recently there was a suggestion from a very, very extreme Nazi organisation who wanted to have their national demonstration in Liverpool. It was rejected by the people of Liverpool.
Yeah,
it never went ahead.
Yeah.
I remember on this point of extremism a couple of years ago, there was an arrest made in Liverpool. Not much came of it, but at the time the police had a presence outside the mosque. And a few months later, I had a meeting with various officers and asked them, how was your experience with the mosque? And they said it was fantastic. The guys at the mosque gave us the keys and said, listen, lads, if ever you want to go in and make yourselves a cup of tea, help yourselves. And because obviously they were only there at the prayer times, but the police were there all the time. And I said, well, you need to get this message out because people might be thinking there's all sorts of plotting and planning that goes on in mosques. And yet here you were, given the keys and told to, relax and treat the place as your own.
That's great. And it's just great to hear that because I think the media do paint a they misrepresent the situation, not just here, but nationally. And okay, we just got a few moments left before we finish. How can people get in contact? Can you turn up at the mosque and get in contact with you, find out more about Islam?
Yeah, both of the mosques which I've mentioned welcome visitors. There are lots of mosque tours which are run there. If anybody who's watching today would like to contact the Abdullah Quillian Mosque, which is the first mosque in the UK, and ask for me personally, I'm willing to give people a tour of the mosque and not just talk about the faith of Islam, but also talk about this amazing history which we have in Liverpool, which is...
Thank you very much. Zia, Adam, it's great to see you today and have you on the programme. See you on Faith Matters next week.